Okay, so now I've got the tripod all set up and I've taken it to the edge, but before I've taken it there, I've also got it belayed because I've got it on this static length of power cord here. So I've walked it to the edge to make sure that that's the right length. And I've tensioned that back to my anchor as well. A couple of other points I just want to look at here. When I've attached this rear guide to the head of the tripod, I've made sure that that pin comes in from underneath, because if it had come in from the top, it would be in the way of this carabiner. Now, the tripod is really well positioned at the edge, and I don't mind that it's slightly off center, because this gap here, that's going to be the side I'm going to have my ropes operating on. Now, the last thing I do once I've got the tripod at the edge here is to make sure that it's hobbled appropriately. I could put a hobble on beforehand. At this venue, I've decided that I'm going to set the hobble up now. Of course, I'm using that same anchor for my safety as I'm near the edge of the cliff as well. The hobble, there's a whole bunch of different options, whether you're using a piece of cord or ratchet straps provided by one of the tripod manufacturers, that's fine. But one of the things that I do really like if I'm using cord, so I've got a figure of 8 on a bite here and I've got a longer bite than I would normally have, is I'm going to start by passing that through one of these holes on the bottom of this foot. And then I'm just going to bring it over and lock it onto that foot. I've gone through the bottom hole. Now I'm going to make my way with that single piece of cord, this is 8mm cord, to the other foot. Now at this foot, I don't have to pass all of that cord through. I'm just going to pass a bite through that hole, get appropriate tension back to the back foot, cleat it up through that foot, over that T-piece, back down through the cleat, and then pull tight. Now I've got an individual hobble that's secured between the back foot and this front left foot. Now I'll go and do the same to the foot on the other side here. So again, this goes across the front of my system. I'm going to take a bite and pass it through the low hole. The lower I keep the hobble, the better it is, because it's making sure I haven't got any undue trip hazards. Get that tension across the front so that it's appropriate. Pull that down through, around that T-piece, and then pull that back through here. So again, I've got an isolated hobble to that front foot. And now I'll walk back to the last foot. Now this is the time I'm going to go through the top of those two holes on the foot. So I'm going to come around, get appropriate tension on there, across to the other T, cleat it back through, and then pull tension on. Then the final thing I can do with the rest of this cord, and it'll just put a little bit more tension in, is I'm just going to take a few half hitches with a bite, just to really secure that end off. 2 half hitches is enough. I could just put it over a pin or something. And lastly, I just want to get all of this excess cord out of the way, stacked in at that foot there so that it's not a hazard for anyone else. So my final checks, now that I've got the tripod set up at the edge. Are my feet positioned appropriately? Are they angled so that they've got the best grip on the rock? If the rock is too soft, is there a chance they could punch through and destabilize that edge and result in the tripod falling over? My front legs, are they as close to plumb as possible? There's some real waste to have this tripod set up and then have the legs sitting back at 45 degrees with my high point here. The whole point of this is to get my load up and over the edge and manage friction really well. Have I got individually hobbled legs? Have I got the pins on my back leg orientated vertically so that any ropes during the operation that are moving past aren't going to snag on these pins? Everything's looking pretty good, so now I'm going to set up the ropes that I'm going to use for this system.